consider the first reading of the budget.
So if you vote yes, you're voting to reconsider the first one?
Yes.
You go right back to when we walked in that room last week. Any amendments are gone.
Well, we only did amendments we didn't do any amendments with the school. And we're talking about the school, that's what we voted on, right?
No, this is on the whole budget.
I get you.
Okay, so a yes vote then means I guess
A yes vote, if 4 out of 6 of you vote yes, you wipe out the first reading of the budget in its entirety, and it puts you back into the position you were in before you voted on it.
Okay.
How's that?
Can we start this again?
My question would be, at that point in time, if we're reconsidering to take the first vote, do we have to again wait a minimum amount of time to take the second vote, or can we take the second vote tonight?
I think you have a problem taking the second vote tonight.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, and Bill, and Fran, and Mike, if the purpose of the reconsider, and I don't want to say what the purpose is, if the purpose of reconsideration is for you to change your vote, the best way to do it, most sensible way to do it, is to leave your vote 4-2 at the last meeting. You have the right to vote on the second reading tonight. And if you want to vote no on the second reading tonight, you can. If the motion for reconsideration goes through and passes by a majority of the vote, it's like Bill said, we start from square one. No amendments, no nothing, anything. We have to go through the whole thing again, which means the amendment lowering the interest rate is up for discussion again. If the budget as presented for us on our second reading is as amended, lowering the interest rate stays, and that's what and then we'll have further discussions tonight. But the key thing, I think, and Bill, you're right, is that can we take a second reading tonight? And I don't think we can. Because the rules say that you can't waive or take the second reading the same night.
It would be hard to have it both ways. To go back to the beginning and then say, oh, but the rule of 2 readings on 2 different nights doesn't apply. If you're back at the beginning, you're back at the beginning.
I don't wish it to go back to the beginning. I really don't.
Okay,
So if it's a yes vote, you're moving to reconsider, wiping out the first vote and putting you back where you were when you first walked in the door at the last council meeting. If you vote no, you're saying the first reading stands, but everything's up for grabs because after all, we're doing the second reading here tonight.
Yeah. Thank you.
Could we, I'll make a motion because we went back into discussion. I'll make a motion in discussion. And if we could start the vote again, please, I would appreciate it.
Or if Mike chooses,
That's fine.
he can.
Yes.
Recant his motion.
I'll recant that, yes.
Okay.
If you're withdrawing your motion,
Yes.
then you should also have the person who seconded it withdraw the second, just
I'll
cover
withdraw the
it.
second. Yep.
Okay,
Thank you.
good.
So we need a roll call now on,
Well, we're on the second reading.
Do we need a roll call
No,
vote
now
on
we're
the
on the
motion to
the public.
withdraw?
okay.
Excuse me?
Do we need a roll call vote on the motion to withdraw? The motion to reconsider?
No, the motion to reconsider has been withdrawn, and the second to it was also withdrawn, which means the motion is not on the floor.
Perfect, thank you.
And means I think you're ready for public comment.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so you want me to read this statement?
Yes, please.
Any person wishing to verbally address the council on any matter may do so, providing permission is first obtained by the council chair. Each person addressing the council shall stand and give the person's name and address in an audible tone of voice for the record, and shall limit remarks to the time allotted by the council chair, which is 3 minutes.
3 minutes, yes.
All remarks shall be addressed to the council as a body and not to any member thereof. No person other than the council and the person having the floor shall be permitted to enter into any discussion, either directly or through a counselor, without the permission of the council chair. No questions shall be asked a counselor except through the council chair. Any person making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks who shall become boisterous while addressing the council shall be forthwith, by the council chair, barred from further audience before the council, unless permission is continued to be granted by the majority of the council.
Okay, is there anybody that has anything they'd like to say?
I do have my one email.
Oh, yeah, I'm
Just
sorry.
get that out of the way.
Yes, please.
Okay. This is from Michael Lubier, 87. Dear Ella, unfortunately, I didn't start the timer. Unfortunately, I am unable to attend the council meeting tonight and would like to read the following letter during public comment. I'd like to express my support for the town budget proposed at the first reading. I believe that all department heads, as well as the town manager, have done their due diligence in putting forth a very conservative budget. I was present for most of the budget workshops and believe the discussion was challenging and respectful with the town's best interest at heart. At the first reading, some counselors were more challenging, especially towards the school budget, and particularly the new positions previously funded with COVID dollars, still our tax dollars. I have witnessed firsthand the effectiveness of addressing some of the special needs of some students. Back in my day, tough love and discipline were pretty much the only tools available. Today's tactics are much more precise and focusing on the individual challenges of students with long-lasting effect. I also support the school's budget in its entirety. I hope the counselors do the right thing and approve the budget versus chasing a few votes in the upcoming election. Sincerely, Michael Lubier. That's all I have.
Okay, now we will open it to the public.
Hopefully this is on. Is it on?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. My name's Joe Kirian, District 5. I've lived in Winslow my entire life, for 60 years. I guess the first thing really what I'd like to do is, what we all forget is the amount of time that you guys put in as a council compared to our $175,000 a year Congress. So I really would like to thank all of you for volunteering all the time that you guys do, past and present town council. So thank you for that. So really what I have to say is going to be unpopular to everyone, but that's okay. I don't mind. I did not clearly understand the budget. And my viewpoint is always to question both sides of the issue. And I've reached out to some town council, I've reached out to residents, and I would reach out to what I consider to be both sides to have a better feeling of exactly about this budget. I believe the budget should be rejected only really for two reasons. I would like to see, even though I understand that it was put out at a workshop, the full budget, and most people didn't realize that that was put out. I would like to be able to see line for line exactly where the money is going. And the second reason mostly is to see if there can be any sort of compromise on the amount of money or the positions for that budget. I'm not against raising, if it comes to taxes for these positions, but it really bothers me to hear some residents who come in with their agenda, listening to their agenda about the school budget. And what concerns me is that some of the town council know that in 2 or 3 years that taxes may be going up again because of other departments that need the money. So just take that in consideration when you decide to vote on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
The yellow's 30 seconds, correct?
Yes.
And for those of you out there, if you do hear the little dinger go off, that means you're down to your 30 seconds when the yellow light turns on.
Now I have to get it.
seat.
Go for it.
Hi, I am Kip Patel, and I'm a resident of Winslow and a teacher at Winslow High School. Before I start, I want to take this opportunity to thank all of the educators, support staff, school administrators, our superintendent, and our school boards for supporting me and everyone else in our education journey. You are all greatly appreciated. Imagine you're in a room with people of varying levels of comprehension. People are fidgeting, talking to one another, making noise that makes it hard for you to do the work you have planned, and most are not fully paying attention while you try to conduct your business. You try to engage the audience, but some people have earbuds in. Some are on their phones. Some are wondering what they're going to have for supper. And some, well, they just really don't care, and they're just here because they were dragged here. I guess you could kind of say it's much like this atmosphere right now, and very much what it's like in a classroom. You come into a meeting with expectations, what behaviors will be tolerated or not, and how you would like a meeting to be run. However, things don't always go as expected. How are you going to handle the varying levels of noise, confusion, interruptions, and such? Are you going to stop what you're doing to speak to all of the folks and demand attention? Are you going to ignore them and try to talk over them? If people don't listen, are you going to kick everyone out or send all of us to the principal's office? I did some calculations, imagine that, a math teacher doing math, and I figured out that the average number of years of experience for teachers in Winslow Public Schools is about 20 years. It is safe to assume with that amount of experience that we have at our schools that we have the knowledge of what is best for our programs. I guarantee that we all set expectations the first week of school. We all have behavioral and educational goals. We all understand the importance of maintaining a classroom that is safe for all students. To assume otherwise is simply ignorant and showing a lack of respect and understanding of what happens in a classroom setting. Times have changed. Learning has changed. Student behaviors and attitudes have changed. Parenting has changed. Everything has changed, and we need to adapt and change with it all. It isn't easy to fight for a budget when some town council members are not willing to open their minds and understand that we are putting positions in the budget because it is something we need, not just something that we want. If you don't understand the budget, listen to us. Find out why we have requested what we put in the budget and find out what it is we need in order to support all of our students. Every student needs support. Every student is an individual and learns in different ways. We adjust our teaching and our instruction methods on a minute-to-minute basis to reach people in unique styles. Without the proper support, we are unable to do so. Please respect our educators to make the right choices and ensure that we have the support and the budget we need to create lifelong learners. Thank you.
Kim, Ms. Patel?
Yes.
Can I just get your street?
Oh, 91 Clinton Avenue.
Thank you.
91 Clinton Avenue, yes. My name is Dan Patel. I'm a Winslow resident, District 3, 91 Clinton Avenue. I've had two kids before we were married. I had two kids that came through this school. One was a special needs kid. I very much appreciated the support and the backing that I received during that time and difficult times afterward. I trust that you all have a big responsibility, to the budget, to our taxes, to use them in the best way possible. I also trust that our administrators, all educational professionals, they have identified a need in the district. I think they've identified the best way to meet that need. And as a Winslow taxpayer, I would like to see that need met. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is James Grayback, and although I'm not lucky enough to live in Winslow, I am lucky enough to work in Winslow, and I hope you're okay with me speaking tonight. I want to speak for some of my elementary school colleagues here, and I want to share with you some of the challenges that they have shared with me, which is that, as Ms. Patel has put it, teaching is different today, and everything is different today. And the challenges that they are facing, specifically at the elementary school, are highlighted in the budget. They were highlighted with the data provided by Principal Gower, and they are necessary. These aren't not luxuries that the school is looking for. They are necessities for our elementary school educators, and more importantly, for those students who need the extra attention. As some have suggested, why don't you just send them to the principal's office? Unfortunately, when you have 10 to 15 students in the principal's office, that doesn't quite work as you would expect. And the data shows that the amount of students that we would have to do this with would skyrocket if we were not allowing for the positions that are currently highlighted in the budget and what has been discussed. And I will leave the podium with this. I had the pleasure of speaking with some of the leaders of the Wabanaki Confederacy this past summer as I was volunteering my time working on Maine state standards. And one of the amazing things that the Wabanaki do is they build birch bark canoes, feats of engineering that are quite renowned. The way they do this is pretty interesting. They burn the brush around the birch trees. But the problem is that the birch tree doesn't grow in one generation. It grows after multiple generations. The Wabanaki have the foresight to think several generations ahead of themselves and to think of the future and invest in the future of the students, of their youth. I would urge the council, and again, I will highlight that I am not a resident, but I work with several residents in Winslow, and I work with the amazing students who want to learn in Winslow, and we are providing them with these resources with this budget. I would urge and highlight again that parents know that every single one of their own children is different. I would also highlight that parents know that sometimes their kids need a little extra support. If you are a parent of somebody who is going through Winslow schools, please urge your councilperson to vote yes on this budget. It was prepared for the youth in mind. It was not prepared for every single bell and whistle possible. It was prepared thinking of the community and its needs. And by voting no, we are being short-sighted.
Your
We
3
will
minutes
end up
is
with
up.
crooked birch trees. Thank you.
Can I get the spelling of your last, sir? Can I get the spelling of your last name?
Skrabak, S-K-R-A-B-A-K.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kyla Mihalowicz, and I live on Corbett Lane. I have a student at Winslow Elementary School. When searching for a community to settle down in after my husband's naval service concluded, our #1 priority was finding a good school district for our son. We were impressed to learn that Winslow had a history of robust funding support for the school district. We thought, that's the kind of town we want to live in, one that cares about and prioritizes their kids. School budget needs throughout the state of Maine are larger this year, due in part to special funding from the federal government expiring. We, as a town, can afford to fill those gaps in funding and continue to support our teachers, students, administrators, and other vital school staff members. No layoffs and no tax hikes are suggested in this budget. That is wonderful news, especially considering the article from Maine Public published on April 25th, 2024, that details the struggles in education budgeting other towns just like ours are facing. I emailed the article to all of you before the meeting, and I hope you had a chance to read it. I'm very thankful for all the hard work our school board members and other participants in the budget workshops put into this proposed budget. I was appalled by the blatant disrespect shown to our school administrators at last Tuesday's meeting. They and several others did not deserve that behavior. Will Winslow continue to prioritize our kids? I implore the council to pass this budget and let the voters decide. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me okay? Megan Lubier, 6 Helen Street. My name is Meg Lubier, and I serve on the school board. I also have 3 children in the school system, in the elementary school, the junior high, and the high school. I know all of the staff so well, and they care about our kids. The kids that are doing well, the kids that are struggling, they care about them, and they are providing an excellent education. I am from Southern Maine, and when I married my husband, who grew up in Winslow, and we decided to move up here, I was like, oh boy, you know, I don't know how the school systems will be in Central Maine. I was concerned, right? We get up here, and boy, was I wrong to be concerned. The education, the care, the knowledge, it's just spectacular. I am proud of this school. I am proud of the teachers. I sat through every line item of the school budget. We went through everything. There is no fat in this budget. This is all needed. These kids need support, they need connection, and they need relationships. These positions provide that and create safe schools. It is a wild world out there, and our schools, I believe it is our responsibility and this town council's responsibility to maintain safety in schools. And safety comes from making sure that the children that need help and connection and relationships have that. And I please take that seriously. And I hope you support the school budget. I know I do. Thank you.
My name is Sam Smith, and I live on Corbett Lane. I grew up in Winslow. I went to Winslow Public Schools, and now I teach at the elementary school. This is my 10th year teaching, and I've noticed a drastic shift in student behavior the past couple years. While we do have supports in place for students with an IEP, the number of students who are not receiving special education support and are exhibiting disruptive behaviors is increasing. Teaching is challenging enough, more so with students who are being disruptive and disrespectful. I've been so thankful to have the student support specialists the past couple years. I have seen students make major improvements with their behavior, which in turn impacts their learning and leads to a positive classroom environment that benefits all students. Without this role, we would have no support for students who may be disrupting the learning of others and do not have an IEP. While these students exhibit minor behaviors, that still includes refusing to do work, crawling on the floor, slamming books or computers, swearing, dangerous behavior which leads to evacuating classrooms to keep other students safe, and a host of other negative behaviors which all take place during the school day while we're trying to teach. No, these are not just students who want to get out of class and decide to act up. These are students that may have a host of things that impact their behavior, such as anxiety, violence at home, not having adequate food, ADHD, family changes, and a host of other realities. These students are dysregulated and need help getting to a place where they are able to learn. We must provide support for these students. If you are not at school every day, you do not know the extent of these behaviors that teachers see in all grades at the elementary school. You cannot compare your own school experience and how students behaved years ago to what is happening today. The reality is that students have changed, and what may have worked 10 or 20 years ago is not working now. I urge you to support the school budget with the added behavior positions. They're critical to having a safe and positive school environment in Winslow where all students can succeed. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Amy Davidson. I live at 4 First Street in Winslow. I'm talking to you as an educator, as a parent, and also as a coach. Something I want you to know is we think a lot about these kids, every kid that comes into our school. We are tired. We cry for them. They come from campers, some of them. They don't have food. They don't have water. Their clothes aren't clean. So sometimes when you come to school and that's your day, you might need a little extra time in a behavior room to learn how to wash your nails, brush your teeth, comb your hair. and look presentable to the world. We spend at least the first 6 weeks. So first of all, I'm a special education teacher certified, K-8, and I'm also a second grade teacher, K-8 regular ed certified. The tears came today. Knew they'd come. I cry all the time. We spend the first 6 weeks. We don't assume they know how to use a marker. We don't assume they know how to cap it. We always say, listen for the click. I teach everything. I teach how to walk down the hallway. I talk about how to go to the bathroom, and I know our custodians don't want me to talk about that a little bit more because the spray is real, all right? There's so much for these babies. And I am very good at behavior, very good. I don't often give myself credit for everything, but I'm very good at it. I used to be a day treatment teacher, a life skills teacher, all of the things. But just like I assume a pilot cannot also be my stewardess, if I'm the pilot of the classroom, my job is to teach those kids, and here comes my plug for those elderly, because I love my elderly, because I'm gonna be one. I say to these kids, you're gonna run my nursing home. I need you to listen. I need you to be competent. I need you to pay attention. So, and if I have to remove some of that behavior, even though I can handle it myself, I don't think that's my phone. Is my time up? I don't know what's going on, but okay. If I need to remove that behavior because I am literally piloting the plane, I can't go back and handle that other stuff. And just so you know, it's the law for us to have general education interventions. We have them for math. I have Mr. Martin in my room telling me, this is what you did great, this is what you could do better, Mrs. Davidson. I'm always looking for that. Same thing with general education interventions and behavior. Like I said, I do this stuff, but I can't do it alone. I have 3 kids that go there. I got other kids on the way, and we just want to make the school safe and feel good for everybody, those that are going to run my nursing home and take care of me when I'm old, and those that just need to know that there's safe people in this world that want to take care of them. And please trust me, we need a lot more than what Mrs. Gower is asking for. We need a lot more, but this is the bare minimum, please.
Hello, my name is Megan Giroux, and I live at 463 Abbott Road. And I would like to voice my support for the 2024-25 school budget. I understand that COVID funds have expired, which previously supported additional personnel in the school system to help deal with behavioral issues. I know those funds need to come from our town to cover multiple positions that are necessary. Behavioral health is a huge issue that our generation is dealing with. Families in our school system are waiting months to get outside counseling services that could have been initiated in our school system with these additional personnel. I work in healthcare, and as a patient, when you go into a healthcare setting, you expect your support and your staff in a hospital, in a doctor's office, to be there to meet your needs as a patient. Our students and children are walking into a school system where we need to support their needs. They can't vote, we can. I urge you to support the school budget to support our positions. Thank you.
Good evening. Steve Susi, Sam Street.
Sorry.
I'm the guy that made the Facebook post, and I too have 2 that went through the school system. I have 1 that's in the high school now, and I truly appreciate all of the educators, all of the administration, the faculty, the bus drivers, the kitchen workers, the school board members, and the superintendent. I appreciate you guys. As a citizen, I got to make an informed decision when I vote on June 11th. I've looked for the school budget. I have no idea where it is. I've looked on the town website. I've looked on the school website. I've called educators this weekend. I've spoken with other residents. I've spoken with school board members this weekend, and I appreciate all the information. This town is awesome. The school is awesome. I'm not a bad guy. Easy. But I have concerns. And I'm allowed to have those concerns. Because first it was 4 positions, and then after the first vote, I hear it's 6 positions, and I'm like, well, wait a second, what's what here? I scoured the internet for information so that I could make an informed decision. So I started to dig on the state of Maine, Department of Education data warehouse to look for detailed stats on the Winslow School District. What I came up with was the student population is down overall in Winslow, 6.4% from pre-COVID. The elementary school was the only administration to gain students, 55 each. Reported bullying from 2017 to 2023 shows 4 reported incidents all occurring between 2017 and 18. Reported behavioral incidents are up from pre-COVID to present from 12 to 67. It sounds like it's a lot worse. And if it is worse, then the reporting system sucks. Restraint and seclusion incidents are down pre-COVID to present, 50 in 2019, 31 in 2023. So if one looks strictly at the data, and I understand the child aspect behind this, it does not support the majority of the positions requested, depending on if we're looking at 4 or
3
6
minutes is up, please.
positions. Thank you for your time.
My name is Kyle Castaneda. I live on Corbett Lane. I support this budget without further amendments and that the council should vote to pass it. I believe a no vote demonstrates a lack of trust in the town manager, department heads, and the school board. All have put in time to develop a responsible budget, and I, for one, trust their ability to do so. I believe that was achieved prior to these 2 council meetings and does not risk the town's financial standing. All present council members had the opportunity to work on the budget prior to the meeting on the 22nd. So why jeopardize everyone's hard work and start over? To what end? More cuts, micromanagement of the school, but no other departments? Voting no and delaying the budget is irresponsible and a failure to do the job. What's the point of workshops and working together prior if you're not going to honor what you were a part of developing? Remember, you represent more than one demographic. We are a town of approximately 8,000 citizens, comprising children, senior citizens, and people at all points in between their life. Please do your job, stop the drama. Don't let your personal opinions or a vocal minority get in the way of your responsibility to pass the budget so everyone can get back to doing their job and improving this community. And I'll end with this. The events of this week have made it necessary for me to stand here. I'm not a great public speaker. And I'm in opposition to a lot of the statements and generalizations made at the last meeting, and I don't support the direction these individuals want to take our town. Vote to pass the budget as written. Thank you.
Well, Kyle.
My name is Ashley Powell, 183 Eames Road in Winslow. I'm also the District 5 school board member, and I wasn't planning on speaking tonight because I am part of the school board, but I am going to speak on a more personal level. So I have 6 children, and they're all on different learning curves. My oldest was in gifted and talented elementary school. He received the conductor's award for band last year as an 8th grader. He's an honor roll in high school, and he's a multi-varsity letterman for sports as a freshman. My youngest son struggles with daily living skills, has multiple disabilities, including learning disabilities and behavior disorders. So parenting isn't his problem. I did okay with his brother. I'm doing the same thing with him, and they're 2 totally different kids. I did struggle in the beginning getting his IEP needs met, but since the struggles have been met, his goals are being met, he's doing better. And my 11-year-old can read, finally. Winslow has met all my children's specific needs because our town has the support, our town has supported our schools. Mr. Tipitot has done wonders with our town, and I thank him for all the endless work he does above and beyond, behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, and our amazing staff is great also. I'm a very involved parent. I'm involved with the PTO. I'm in all the sports with my kids, parent-teacher conferences, IEP meetings. I also worked in a different district. If you walk down the schools of Winslow Elementary, because that's the latest school I've been to, we have a gorgeous school. You don't see kids rolling around in the hallways because of their behavior issues, because they have supports in place to help them. I went to a different IEP meeting with a friend in a different school, and the first thing you do when you walk in is you see 3 ed techs trying to corral this child who's trying to escape from the building because he doesn't want to be there. I don't see that anytime I go to Winslow. And I'm sure it happens, but every time I've been there, we don't. We have staff there to help them with what they need. And if we don't give these staff the support they need, we're going to lose our teachers that we've had for years. Thank you.
Good evening, Amanda Carey. I live on Harry Street. I have 2 children that currently attend Winslow Elementary, and I cannot support the teachers, the staff enough. I've talked to some council members prior to this meeting and expressed my support of the budget as presented. I'm asking that we all support our teachers. We have children that are depending on these positions. I can tell you at home, I teach my kids. However, my kids attend public school, where I then hand them over to this wonderful staff and trust that they're going to do their job. We need to support them so that they can do their jobs appropriately. Please support our teachers, support our community, and pass the budget as presented. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Beecha. Good evening. Earl Watts, live on the corner of Lucille and Helen. For full disclosure, parent of 2 that went through Winslow, school board member. I teach in Waterville, and I'm an adjunct instructor over at Thomas. So I like education, and education is important. And I think one of the key things that's being overlooked with some of these additional positions is the fact of what they're providing the teacher in the classroom, and that's time. Time is a finite resource when you're a teacher. You have X amount of time to try and get a message to everybody. And if you have a student that is taking your time and you don't have a support person to send that student to, you're faced with a decision. Do I focus on the student? Chad, you're the student. Do I focus on the student and ignore the other 24, 25, 18 kids in the room? Or do I focus on the 18 and ignore the 1? Neither is a good solution. The best solution is to say, hey, you know, why don't we go down the hall real quick? I'm going to have you talk to somebody. And he goes down the hall and he talks to somebody. And then I get on to teaching the rest of
Earl,
the students.
can you please use the microphone? Thank you.
Sorry.
You have your teacher voice, I know.
Sorry, thought I was loud enough and projecting. But no, do I take my time and address the 1, or do I take my time and address the 15 or the 18? That's the choice that you are faced with. This budget seeks to provide both of those, and it does it in a revenue neutral manner. It is revenue neutral. Anybody saying that, oh, our taxes are going to go up because we're using unliquidated funds, you're looking at a crystal ball. We don't know the future. We don't. People say, hey, help me save money. I'm saying teachers are saying, hey, help me save time. That's the only resource that we have that we can't get from somewhere else.
The clock ticks, just like my 3 minutes. Thank you.
My name is Kyle Price. I live at 147 Clinton Avenue. I've had 31 years of experience in education. I'm in my 19th year here at Winslow Public School System. 7 years total as assistant principal, 10 years as principal. I worked last year as an ed tech, and I'm currently in my 2nd year as a bus driver as well and a substitute teacher. I'm also a safety care trainer for our district that helps train staff members to deal with some of the behaviors that have been referenced in these requests for these positions. I'm not here to represent the school administration. I'm here to what I think is I consider myself to be a well-informed resident that had development some of the items that were referenced in the last meeting. So that kind of touched me off a little bit. I don't have time to share some of the details about the responsive classroom model that Erica Gower made reference to at the last meeting, or the matrix, which I brought with me, just so you can get a picture of what it looks like. I'd be certainly happy to talk in more detail because this was the responsive classroom model and the matrix was all developed during my tenure as a principal. As has already been more eloquently stated, this is not about classroom management skills. Our teachers have excellent classroom management skills. I've seen it. What I was surprised by at the last meeting was a lack of trust and respect that these requests were legitimate. Mr. Tippett is the best superintendent I've worked for in my 31-year career. And I've worked for 10 in 31 years. The last school system I worked for 4 in the 6 years that I was there. We moved here the year after I was hired because of the quality of the school system. I have 3 children. The oldest one was a senior when we moved. He finished where he was at. The other 2 went through Winslow Elementary School, and I'd love to brag to you about their accomplishments. And Mr. LaChapelle for his writing instruction that my son has benefited from as he's defended his thesis for his master's in ocean engineering. You know, I had some charts that I was also going to potentially share about the de-escalation and how we go about doing that and the needs for it, but there's not time for that. So in closing, I just would like to ask you to support the budget, the entire budget, including the school budget. It was, I left the workshop meeting feeling like this council was pretty pleased that it came in at a target number that they had identified, and I guess I was quite surprised by a shift in their thinking when we got to the last meeting. So I hope that all the more eloquent speakers than myself that you've heard here tonight have convinced you that there's a lot of support here for what we need to do that's in the best interest of our students and our staff.
Amanda McCaslin, Corbett Lane. Apparently we're well represented on the street. I'm also the Parks and Rec Director, and I guess I'm up here to support the school. I would like to see it get passed through and to the residents to make that decision. I get to work with all these kids that they teach, and I've definitely seen a change in behavior. Our kids in Winslow are the best kids. I think we have the best teachers. I have 3 kids in the schools. But I think it was 3 years ago, I looked at Mrs. Gower in a hallway in the middle of a summer fun camp day and said, I don't know what to do about this. Training can only go so far for myself. These are the people that know what they're doing. Mrs. Davidson taught 2 of my kids. Mr. Price was one of my kids' principal, and they get so excited when they see him walking his dog. I think we have a beautiful thing here in Winslow. So many of our teachers live here. We see them in the neighborhood. We see them at the 107, and I 1,000% support them. And Mr. Tippett is amazing and a very smart man, so I know whatever he brought us is what's needed. So that's it.
Super short. I'm super short. Hi, I have no idea what I'm going to say. I had it all written out, and I've decided not to read any of it. So.
Can I get your name and address?
Oh, sorry. I'm good at this. Lindsay Bragdon, 11 Narrow Gauge Lane in Winslow.
Thank you.
And I will say, I am a parent of a 7th grader and a 3rd grader. I'm also a social worker. I'm currently in grad school, and it's important to share that I'm in a class right now about leadership. And so one of the key things I've learned about leadership currently is that in order to be a good leader, you must inspire people to do good work. And look what you've done. You've inspired us to be here. So I just want to say thank you. It is brave to put yourself out there as a council member and stand up for what you think is right. And when you do that, you get to hear the real voices of us who support our school. I'm here to support the budget as amended. And I will share 2 stories. I had the honor and privilege of working with Chad and all the high school's staff last year as one of the support people that was funded through the CARES, whatever you call it. And I will say there wasn't a week that went by that I wasn't thanked by the staff for all that I was doing, and I was there 2 days a week. I was thanked every single day that I was there for being the person that I could give them minutes. I actually called my job, I just give student minutes. Just come on in, get you some minutes, whatever you need. My role was to help support the students who were dysregulated and those who were at risk and who were currently living in homeless situations. I had a full-time job in 2 days a week. It is a real need here. This is not something that they're asking for that just would feel real good to have. I could have been busy for 2 full-time jobs, to be quite honest, and they were grateful that I was there for 2 days. And the last thing I will share is about our sweet little 3rd grader, who very much loves her teacher this year and is thriving. And about a third of the way into the school year, there was a new student that joined her class, and she loves new students. I got a new friend today. You won't believe it. She's so lovely. She's very animated. And about a month and a half into that started to change, and this student had significant trouble transitioning to the school. Oh, I want to get this in. Okay, anywho, what happened was it wasn't going well for the student. The student really struggled, and it really affected our daughter so significantly to the point we were getting ready to reach out to the school about, hey, what's happening here? And within a week of us thinking about reaching out, she said, you won't believe it. She's getting support, and she gets to go get time to regulate, and she's using all of her skills now. She's doing really well, and she's supporting her. And so I just want to say that's one story of a student who got the support from what they're asking for. So please just vote yes for the budget. Okay, thanks, bye.
Hi, good evening. I'm fighting laryngitis, so bear with me. I'm Mary Beth Burgoyne. I live on 10 Primrose Street. I am also a 33-year veteran teacher in Winslow. I grew up here. My family has 4 generations here. It's where we are. I support the budget. That goes without saying. The one thing that I wanted to come up and say, not well, obviously, is, Mr. Price nailed it with Mr. Teepatot. The guy is the real deal. He is, again, I've worked for superintendents, and he is by far the best. He is honest. He's been called a liar. He's not a liar. He is the most straightforward person that this town can have. He is all about educating us as educators, become better educators. He teaches us all the time. But the other point that I wanted to make is you have elected officials that have wanted to be on the school board. They know their role. They have been at meeting after meeting, listening to budgets being presented. Citizens can go. It's available to them. You can watch it online. So the fact that some people aren't understanding the budget, it's been presented. These positions are not about wants, as somebody said. We're looking at needs. We're not looking at special ed. We're looking at needs beyond it. I had the great opportunity to be part of a school system that also had an amazing chair in Chief Ron Wary. The man is awesome. And he was straightforward as well. He took care of your budget. He made sure of it. He was responsible. He was fiscally conservative, but he also listened to the needs. He had a mentee in Joel Selwood. Joel has taken that baton and he is leading the school board. The school board members take their role seriously. Trust what they are doing. The lack of trust between the two cannot continue. They have done their job. Support them. Do yours.
Hi, my name is Chris Fair. I live at Tim Henlock Street. Been a Winslow citizen for, well, almost 30 years. I have 2 kids that graduated Winslow High School. I got a granddaughter. Maybe one day will come here. I have nephews that come here as well. So I'm not here to attack anybody. I love the teachers here. I support them in most cases. However, we do have a situation in this economy right now. We have a situation where inflation is skyrocketing. We just had a huge property tax increase that we have to basically address. I sell Medicare and I sell healthcare to many, many people in the state, including many in this town. Many of them are suffering. They can't even pay for food or medicine, okay? And we just had a huge tax increase. We also just voted in 3 new town council members for a reason, because people are upset about the taxes here. We have every right as a citizen and as these new town council members to have a discussion that's open to the public and open to everybody. I've been to school board meetings as well. They don't respond back to you on your conversation. They listen, but do they really talk to you about it? No. Okay? So it's not quite open transparency. I have a problem, again, when we're increasing the school budget after we just had another increase, and we just raised taxes about $1,000 per household. That's an issue. Okay, and I'm not saying that the monies aren't justified, but we need to have a discussion about this every year, and it should be tough every year. We do not rubber stamp things just because someone's an expert on something. I heard someone made a comment, well, Peter Thibodeau, well, he's an expert, we need to trust him. I'm not saying we don't trust Peter Thibodeau. But what I'm going to say to you right now, if a fire department comes in and goes, we need 2 more fire trucks, that doesn't mean we automatically just rubber stamp it. If the police department comes in and says we need 10 more police officers, we don't just go, okay, yeah, sure, you're the expert on law enforcement, so guess what? You get to choose whatever budget you decide. That's not how it works. The town council is here basically to evaluate, to make sure these expenditures make sense. And they may very well be. Okay? And I'm not saying that they're not. Okay, but personally, just from grander scale, I do have a problem with the dean of student position. If you want to add another ed tech, I'd rather do that. So that sounds like that needs more support within the classrooms. A dean of student, what is this? What is this, Colby College? Another thing I have a problem with, I do have a problem with this whole overreaching part about medical. Do we really need to have some kind of psychiatric person in the school? Hold on.
Point of order.
Hold on, let me speak.
Point of order. Point of order.
Let me
We're not
speak.
to address the speaker, please.
Let me speak, please.
3 minutes.
We parents have a right to as well. I'm
Your 3
afraid
minutes
of.
is up, sir.
They interrupt.
Okay, what I'm afraid of a little bit is that down the road, we're going to have this person making diagnoses, okay, and then passing out medication down the road. Okay, no, it's happening.
Point of order.
Listen,
Sir, your time is up.
Listen, I know for a fact down the road the school is doing that already. Okay?
Your time is up.
Okay, that's all I'm going to say. So I'm very leery about that. I'm still leery about that. That's all I'm going to say. So please, just use your wise judgment, town council members. Whatever it is, just evaluate everything. That's all I'm asking you to do. Evaluate, make sure it makes sense. Thank you.
Hi, Kelsey Steves, 451 Clinton Ave. I was an ed tech at Winslow for 7 years. I now still work in the school, but for BDA North. We work with some of the trickier students. They are amazing, by the way. They're my favorites. But when I first started at Winslow, maybe this will help to paint a picture of how things have changed a little bit. When I first started at Winslow Elementary, we were able to have this awesome autism program and a life skills program, right? And we had McPuzzle night, and we did all those things. And we had our resource rooms, and it was very kind of calm at Winslow. Everything just worked. Then obviously COVID happened. The difference is that we can't have those individual programs anymore because there are so many students coming into kindergarten, so you can't blame it on the school, because they're coming into kindergarten with trauma. Our society is struggling, we all know this. That doesn't, I grew up in Clinton. My mom is the IT director for SAD 49. Like, my family runs Blue, they are Bulldogs. I found Winslow, and I was passionate about Winslow because of how we met every student's needs. And that is what we're about, and we go above and beyond. And so just because our society is messy around us, I really, really, really hope that we don't just decide to lower our bar. Because I'm telling you that what we are asking for with this school budget is a necessity. I have been stabbed with pencils. I have been peed on. I mean, I have got the whole gamut of things at this school. You can't have those behaviors in a classroom. It can't happen. And those are the extreme behaviors, but then you have kindergartners coming in. I worked with Erica Gower. Oh, I can't do that, can I? I apologize. I don't know if I can, sorry. I worked at Albion Elementary with one of our administrators years ago. And she was a special ed teacher. She would never have sent a kindergartner home, ever, for behaviors. Now it has to happen. This is the world we're living in. And if we don't move with the times and support the people that want to be there to take care of our kids, we're going to crumble. Please support this budget.
Anyone else?
Chad Bell, I live at 450 Clinton Ave, actually across the street from Kelsey. This was not planned, though. Neither was my speech, because I absolutely had no intention to speak today. But I want to go back to something that I said at the school board level when I did my budget presentation, which, as somebody mentioned, is available online. You can feel free to watch them. It was also something that I mentioned at the budget workshop when we met with the town council to go over some of the requests. Every year when we sit down to do the budget, there's always the needs and the wants, right? There's another piece of that, and it's the reflection on what is it that we're currently doing that maybe we don't need. So I want to highlight something because, again, I am a taxpayer as well as the principal, and I can put on either hat at any point in time. But in 2018, 2019, during the budget process, somebody pointed out that the enrollment in Winslow has gone down in every school since, except for the elementary school, which is absolutely correct. So what has Winslow High School done? I've been here since, for 11 years, so do the math really quick, go back to when I started here. I think it was the fall of 2013. In 2018, 2019, we reduced an English teacher, and we eliminated the academic support lab Ed Tech 3. In 2020, 2021, we reduced a PE teacher. Our health teacher at the high school started teaching the health at the junior high. We reduced the media center librarian, and we went to a K-12 model with the librarian. Our assistant principal at the high school, we now shared with the junior high and the high school. So it's no longer a full-time high school position. It's shared between both buildings. In 21, 22, we reduced a math teacher. Again, we looked at the enrollment. What is it that we need? And we decided to make some tough decisions. Coming into this year, we made some really tough decisions because, again, money doesn't grow on trees, right? I pay my taxes on time. I understand. I don't want my taxes going up. We reduced a science teacher, a Spanish teacher, a social studies teacher. So if you're keeping track at home, we've reduced in every single department since 2018, a teacher in every department. Did some of those bleed a little bit? They hurt a little bit. Some of them, were we able to make things work? We made it work. So, thank you.
Anyone else? Peter?
My name's Louis Bourgeois. I live at 238 Abbott Road. All these, I'm gonna piss a lot of people off, but these kids that are acting up, where are the parents? My kid wasn't the best behaved kid in school. When he was out of line, we got a call, we went and picked him up and brought him home or brought him where he needed to be. Why aren't the parents doing that?
Point of order.
What was that?
Not you, Louis.
Oh. I don't understand. Yeah, the times have changed, but the parents have changed. The parents don't do any discipline. None. There's a few out there that do, but the kids need it. It needs to start at home, not at the school. The school's there to teach, not to teach the kids how to behave. I don't know what else to say. I'm just fed up with it because I see the kids acting up all the time and the parents are just standing back watching. They don't do nothing. That's the problem.
Mark Litt, Abbott Road, Winslow. I want to thank teachers, everybody, for the great work you do. But you need to look at the elderly also. Our taxes go up. You want 7%, that sounds like peanuts. Well, my income doesn't go up 7% every year. And I'm struggling to keep my head above water and keep my home and whatnot and pay these inflated taxes. And it hurts. And we have $950,000 that we're sticking into this budget to make this budget fly. And then we hear we need 4 new positions, then we hear possibly at 6, and so where are we at? We're at $250,000, $60,000, $270,000 that we're paying. It's got to end somewhere, because you're going to drive the elderly out of this town. I mean, you're all concerned about the youngsters, and I praise you for it. That's marvelous, and I think it's a nice thing. But the elderly cannot stay here. It's just too hard. You're gouging the shit right out of us, unfortunately. Excuse me. I'm sorry to say that, but it hurts. And I've lived here for a good many years. My grandparents lived here, and it's getting doggone hard and miserable to try to stay here. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else? Peter, would you like the floor?
Thank you. I guess I need some direction before I take the floor, because a lot of things have been said here this evening that people are confused with some information, and if I have the opportunity to clarify some of that, that would be great. If I don't have that opportunity, I guess what I'm asking is, do I have 3 minutes, or do I have an opportunity to clarify some things?
Chairman, may I, before we do that? Questions, Peter, the request that I had.
Dale, can you talk into the microphone, please? Thank you.
I've only had one request, Peter, on your budget. Can you briefly explain the need for the Dean of Students and what the cost of that position is?
Yeah, I would ask Erica Gower to come down here with me because she's very, the individual that has that piece, but
The public comment section is over. Peter's doing his presentation. I didn't know that's what it was.
Okay.
Sorry.
So, good evening, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I did introduce myself last time. So my name is Erica Gower. I am the proud principal of Winslow Elementary School. I have been the administrator, an administrator at WES for 6 years, the last 4 as the principal. On April 9th, I presented to the council information about the positions needed at WES and offered some data to support those positions. Last week, there were further questions about the positions. So I wanted to start by offering a timeline of the requested positions to help everybody kind of understand where this has come from. The 2021 school year was our hybrid year, and that year there was significantly less dysregulation. But while we were planning for the 21-22 school year, we wanted to ensure that we had support needed for the additional grade level that would be coming as 6th grade would be joining us that year, and for the students who were impacted by the global pandemic. Due to these concerns, we did request an additional assistant principal to be paid for with CARES COVID funds for the 21-22 school year. We were optimistic that we would only need this 1 year of support and that things would go back to normal after that. However, that was not the case. Towards the end of that school year, we looked at the data and reflected on the continued needs of students coming out of the pandemic. It was determined that we saw a lot of lower level dysregulation and behavior from students that an interventionist could help with, and we didn't need administrative level support. So with that in mind, and with Mr. Price leaving the AP position, we requested a student support specialist for the 22-23 school year. That first year, the position supported 30 students, and we soon realized that what we had hoped was going to be a short-term problem, the increase in student dysregulation and behavior, would be with us for much longer. So we asked for that position again for the second year, and some of that data is what I showed you last week. Without this support, these students will not have the required and necessary interventions and will need office-level support. Now, if we talk a little bit about the increased need for office-level support beyond the supports we just talked about. I presented numbers last week for office discipline referrals, and we are projected to have this year 709 majors, which are administrative level, office level support needed referrals. Last year, there were 515. The year before that, there were 298. As you can see, this is a significant increase in office discipline referrals we've had in both our majors and our minors over the last 3 years. Minor level behaviors are often handled by our fabulous teachers and or supported by our student support specialist. Major level behaviors require office level support, and right now that means instead of doing many of the educational leader responsibilities, I am having to be another assistant principal. Here are some things that have been impacted. Many teacher observations are either interrupted or have to be rescheduled due to major behavior needs, and some of the teachers here could attest to that. As the building leader, I need to be able to support our teachers, to support our students with both informal and formal observations, and that is not happening the way it should be due to the needs of the building. As the educational leader of the building, I'm responsible for facilitating the required academic intervention meetings. During many of these meetings over the last 2 years, I have had to leave the meetings to address student behavior. These are just a few examples of my job responsibilities that have been impacted by the insufficient support for major student behaviors. It is important to note that these increased numbers really don't do justice to what the needs are. Many of these behaviors require sometimes more than one administrator and oftentimes last hours of the day. After last school year, we saw that the major behaviors had increased, and then at the beginning of this school year, it became clear that to support students and to support student instruction by supporting teachers, we needed to add another office level support person. We talked about these needs using data as our guide. We talked through how to provide this support. One way would be to add another assistant principal. Since we work very hard to be fiscally responsible, we researched what other schools have in place for administrators. We learned that several schools in the area use a dean of students model instead of adding another assistant principal. After looking at our needs and the benefits of each position, we agreed that a dean of students would work to support the needs at WES. We have not had a guidebook about students' needs after a global pandemic. Still, we have worked diligently at each step to evaluate the needs and to only ask for what we need to support our students. I hope this information will be helpful to support the needed positions. If the information that I have provided over the past few weeks isn't enough to convince you, I would ask you to consider coming to our school for a visit, to volunteer, or we're always looking for subs, to get a better understanding of our needs. I do appreciate your time, and certainly if there are any specific questions that I can answer, I would be happy to do so.
Any questions from the council?
I do have one question. The Dean of Students at the Winslow, I missed the part. Is that, so principal, vice principal, and Dean of Students, or just principal and Dean of Students?
Nope, it would be principal, vice principal, well, assistant principal.
All right, I'm sorry, I wasn't clear. Yep. Thank you.
All you, sir.
3 minutes, or can I clarify some points?
No, take your time, what you need.
I'd just like to quickly clarify some points, and I won't use the PowerPoint that we have here this evening. I just want to quickly go over a few things. First of all, thank you all for being here this evening. Whether you are here to support the schools or here to find out more about the schools, it's extremely important that you're here, because this is your community. This is your school district. This is your school system. I have stated since I've been here, strong schools make strong communities. Since I've been here, we have a strong school. And by the way, we have a strong community as well. And it takes all of us, not just us. It takes you as well. Because you have some tough decisions to make. I get it. Nobody wants to take money away from the taxpayers. That's not what we're doing. That's not what we're trying to do. We have created and built fiscally responsible budgets for the past, this is my 6th year here, in order to provide the needs for the students that we know through data that we need. We look at ways in which to make things happen. I'm hearing a lot about these positions. I want to take just a minute and go to these positions, just for a second, because I think there's some misunderstanding about what it is that we're asking for. And Steve, I appreciate what you said earlier. Thank you, back there. I appreciate what you said, Steve. You know, when you talk about a line item, we have been working on this budget since January. We have had multiple meetings with our board to go over line item of this budget with each of the 11 cost centers. That is on Black Raider News. People can watch it. Our meetings are open to the public. That's all there. My concern always with handing out a budget that has however many lines, we're talking lots of lines, is that unless I sit down with you and I answer your questions so that you understand what's there, some may do something disingenuous to that budget. And when they do that, it hurts our kids. It hurts our teachers from supporting our kids. I'll be glad to sit down with you and go over what we have for a draft budget just so you can see all those lines. But I will not just blankly put it out there like that without an explanation. It's very dangerous to do so. I would be glad to sit with any of you to talk about those lines, if that's what you wish. But that's the job of the board. to vet those lines. And Mary Beth, you said something earlier that unbelievable. When we go through this budget, and we vet this budget through the numerous meetings, and when we started out with the number that you see that we're requesting, that number has been reduced by $227,000 already through cuts and adjustments. We've never brought a budget to you that's padded. We bring a budget to you based on our needs. Joel Selwood leans over to me. Somebody mentioned Ron Weary. When we went through all of our cost centers the first time, Joel Selwood leaned over to me and said, "That ain't gonna happen. Go back and do what you always do. See what you can get out of this thing so that you focus on what we absolutely need," and that's what we did, and that's what we've presented to you. So let me talk about these new positions just for a moment. So we talk about this technology data specialist. It's a part-time position, 3 days a week. Why do we need that? Because the information and the work that's been done that gets done in this area is no longer available to us necessarily, because we use other districts, other sources in order to get this work done. We contract it out. We contract it out. And the individuals who contract it out for us can't always provide us the time that we need. That's what that is. Psychological evaluator. Our students need to be evaluated. We contract this out currently, and it costs us more money to contract it out than if we had our own person. So this is a cost savings measure to try to get our own person on board. If this person isn't there, the money's got to go back in the lines somewhere, because we still have to do these evaluations. And it's not just anybody that can do it. It's going to be a certified individual. The special education teacher. That is a new request, by far. That's new, absolutely. In special ed, there are statutes, there are laws. It says your caseload numbers can only reach up to 35. Our case numbers are right up there. And if we don't put this position in, we are really close to being in violation if we have more students who are identified in special needs. Sports specialist, both the one at the elementary school and the one at the high school that Chad was talking about, those look like new positions. We could have been non-transparent, and we could have said, you know what, we're just going to increase those lines. No, that's not what we do. We say they're new positions. They've been there for 2 years. Chad's was there before that. We cut it to try to save the budget. We realized that was a mistake because his kids aren't getting the supports that they need. So when you look at it, we're looking for a different funding stream for those positions. It's not that they're new. They're there. So I guess just wanted to clarify that piece. And I keep hearing something about a health center or something. Steve, you asked me about that the other night at the council meeting. Something, I really didn't know what you were referring to. I think you're referring to something that's taken place in another school district near us. I'm still not quite sure. But the answer is no. There's nothing in this budget that has anything to do with a health center. So I'm not quite sure what that is. If you look at this budget, and I'm a little going back to what our requests are. If you look at our requests this year and you look at the summary revenue sheet that I handed out to you during our council workshop, that summary revenue sheet followed a line throughout the last several years. So this year, when you look at our request of $20,237,317.89, realize that request was $227,000 more when we started. It's been reduced that much already. When you look at our state subsidies, we did better this year than we have in the past. There are reasons for that, because on that state subsidy, they look at how many teachers do you have, how many students do you have. They give you a percentage of reimbursement based on what you have. They say, based on our calculations from the state, we think this is what you need to have to educate your kids. We are there in all of those categories. We did very well this year. I look at some data. Steve, you mentioned our numbers, and this is an important one. Our data, when I look at it, in 2021, we had 1,094 students total. In 2022, we had 1,101. In 2023, we had 1,068. In 2024, we have 1,105. We're around 1,100 for the past few years. Numbers of kids have changed in different places. The elementary school went up, the junior high went down. That's because the sixth graders went to the elementary school. Again, that was a cost savings measure. We decommissioned the old junior high to a cost savings measure to this town of about $600,000 a year. So when I look at these budgets, look at these numbers, and I guess the point that I'm trying to make here is that we bring you a fiscally responsible budget. When I look at this, and I look at the revenues that we receive from the state, the money that we took from our undesignated fund to help support this budget, in the end, we're asking for $557,303, which is about a 6.25%. If I go back to last year, I believe the amount being asked was about $1.5 million to the town, around that area. Out of that 1.5, we asked for $374,931. We're 60% of the budget. Town's 40. We have over 200 employees. We run a $20 million business. What's our product? Educating your children. Making sure those children are the future leaders of America. Making sure those kids are prepared to go on. You know, there's a story about blueberries. Let me take just a moment to digress. President of a famous ice cream company stands up, talks about how great his ice cream company is. He has the finest cream, the finest blueberries. Everything is great, and he produces the best product that he can possibly produce. A teacher stands up in the audience, and she says, "Sir," she says, "I don't get the best blueberries. Sometimes my blueberries come to me, and they're a little older. Maybe they're a little bit soft. But what I need to do is take those blueberries and turn them into the best product that I possibly can." We don't have a choice as to who comes to our school. We welcome all kids. We work with all needs of all kids. And we produce the best product that we possibly can. I'm not sure those of you sitting in this audience understand that we have 35 students who qualify for a law called McKinney-Vento. McKinney-Vento is a law that states students who don't have a reasonable expectation to sleep in the same place necessarily every night, they're homeless. You have 35 students in this district who fall underneath that law. Yet those kids make it. Why do they make it? Because we have the supports in place for that to happen. There was a mention about the DOE website, that the incidents of severe behavior in the DOE website weren't there. You don't want to be there. You want those numbers to be low, because the interventions that we put in place prevents that from being awful. Because if those numbers are off the scale, you would say, what's happening in Winslow? What is going on with that school district? That's awful. Take away the supports, take away the people, watch the numbers rise. It won't be next year. No, you can kick it down the can. It'll be 2 years from now, 3 years from now. It'll start to erode. Special ed students, 33 qualify for autism, 2 developmentally delayed, 20 emotional disturbance, 11 intellectual disability, 48 multiple disabilities, other health impaired 49, specific learning disabilities 95, speech or language impairment 34. These kids need support. Somebody made the comment about parents. I've always believed that as a parent, you're as happy as your saddest child. I've also believed that parents don't intentionally try to do bad things. Sometimes things happen, we know that, but for the most part, they care about their kids. They're doing their best. Things have changed. Schools do reach out and try to help parents through some of the supports that we have if they're having a difficult time with their children. If we don't, we can't succeed. I think those are the major pieces that I would like to that I've highlighted this evening. We bring a budget to you that's been vetted. We bring a budget to you that's already been cut or made adjustments to. I mentioned to you, I started to work back and I digressed a little bit, but last year we brought a budget to you and requested $374,931 more than the previous year. And I believe that's last year the town got hit pretty hard. They had some heavy requests, and that's not a criticism. Because some years the town needs more, some years we need more, but for the most part, when you get a 60-40 split, and by the way, the 60% is the same throughout the state, it's about the average, you could expect that. But then you work back. 23-24, we requested $198,585. $198,585. The year before that, we were $17,908 less. I remember that council meeting vividly. Jerry Kurian, I think I saw you come in here. I don't know if you're still here, my friend, but Jerry Kurian, someplace. Jerry Kurian sat in that council meeting, and when we requested the number, he said no, and he was going back and forth with us at the time, and somebody finally said, Jerry, it's less than last year. And Jerry said, well, that's never happened. He was right. The point being, that would have been a perfect year for us to put all kinds of things in there, but we didn't. We didn't. We come to you with a budget based on what we feel, according to our data, according to what we're seeing, according to our students, that we need to best serve them and serve their needs. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Peter.
Mr. Chairman, can I speak for a minute?
You may.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Tipatot, for giving that presentation, and thank you for all the school teachers and the hard work that you do, and thank you for everybody else who came out to talk about this budget. Winslow, without question, has a reputation of having one of the better school systems in the region. Mr. Tipatot has a reputation of being one of the most professional and kind superintendents in the region, and I know that about him. As stated before, This budget, as written, does not represent a tax increase. I know there's been conversation about the $950,000 that we've taken out of unassigned fund balance. One of the number one uses of your unassigned fund balance is to balance your budget. We're at a time where budgets don't go down. The biggest mistake that some of these communities do is to start tearing apart services and school systems in order to lower your property taxes. That's not the correct way of doing it. My job is to grow this community, to bring new tax dollars into the equation to help offset the cost of rising goods. Every nut, every bolt, every tube of grease, all of our insurances continue to go up just like it does in our homes. My job is to make Winslow the place to live. And when people research an area and they look where they're going to move into, they get on the internet and they see this happening. Do you think that Winslow shines? I made another town shine, and we grew that town. And we were able to withstand the cost of inflation by offsetting the budget with new development. That's my goal here in this town. But people need to trust me to do that. They need to believe that our school system is not only the best, but it is. They need to believe that the services that we offer in our community is prudent. It takes parks, it takes schools, and it takes solid services. It is not my job to save your money. We have a certain amount of money that we are supposed to keep into our fund equity. That other money, the excesses, we should be using to balance our budget. And if I'm doing my job correctly, then I'm going to be able to replace what we take out. It's just a cycle. It's part of doing business. It's part of the cost of operations. It's part of how we pay our bills. Fund equity is a tool. If you can't afford to have a savings account, why is it my job to save your money? We should be using that money to help balance our budget. And Mr. Lint, we're not elderly, we're senior citizens. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to council discussion. Anybody?
Well, Mr. Chairman, if I might lead off then. My position is this, is that I fully support that budget as presented to the council. The school, Mr. Tippetot just gave an exceptional discussion on why they need their money. This is my third budget with the school, and I can tell you that when the school board and Mr. Tippetot come to this council with a budget, it's a bare bones budget. I've seen it. When he says there are thousands and thousands of line items in his budget, there are. The first year, I guess I was, however motivated, I went through every one of those lines. And there are lines on there, 10 cents for pencils, $20 for this, $100 for that. But I did. And there was no fluff in that budget. Am I going to take the time last year and this year to do that again? No, I'm not. He's absolutely convinced me that when I review his budget, it's coming to us with a bare minimum. They go through their hearings, and I've been through them. I've sat through them the first year, every single one of them. And they do just what they say. They go over that item by item by item. The first list is a wants list. That gets cut down to basic needs. And every year that I've been involved with the school on the budgets, that's the way it's come out. And this budget is the same. The need for this, I'm hoping that most people out there saw the article in yesterday's Morning Sentinel. And it was right on point with these programs that we've been talking about with the school. Fortunately, in years past, our school system has made the decision that they're going to keep these special needs programs in-house. If they're not kept in-house, read the article. Lewiston's getting nailed for $1 million this year because they have to send those students to private tuition-paying schools. And a lot of other school districts that didn't follow suit and have it in-house, they are getting hammered. Big time. That's the perspective that our school board and our school personnel have, and I think one of the speakers mentioned it tonight. One of them said about the Indians and their birch bark canoes. What do? They planned ahead. And you have to have a budget that's going to plan ahead, not only for this year, but down the road. And you cut now, you're just going to hurt yourself down the road. Somebody else mentioned these statistics from the Maine Department of Education, I guess it was, with a lot of the categories. We're going down. So we don't need the services. Well, why are we going down? It's probably because you're doing a good job with your services that we're providing the students. And hopefully someday that might get down to zero. If it does, great. We can make some cuts until they start going back up again, because that's exactly what would happen. So I totally support the school budget. The other part of this is the municipal budget. Ella presented us with a municipal budget with a flat mill rate from last year, but we're going to have to qualify that, folks. Once the budget is approved, Judy, our tax assessor, gets the budget. Under our charter, she sets the mill rate based on a long technical formula that the state requires. Historically, the mill rate that we determine here, historically, that mill rate could change a tenth, or maybe at the most. I don't know if it's gone up 2/10 in a long time, but it may change by a tenth either way once Judy's done with the numbers that the state requires. But for now, I think we can say that it's going to be a flat budget, a flat mill rate. Your taxes are not going up. The only way your taxes are going to go up this year is if you made improvements to your house. That's it. The revaluation is over. Yeah, we get hammered on it, big time, because it hadn't been done when it was supposed to have been done 5, 6 years ago, and we're paying for it. We took that into consideration, and when Ella presented her budget to us, we knew we couldn't put another tax increase in this year. There's no way it was going to happen. So how do you do it? Ella crunched the numbers and put in what we needed, took out what we needed, and we had 3 days of budget discussions on it among the council. Taking $950,000 out of the fund balance, yeah, that's not good business. It's not, and the auditors told us that. That $950,000 that we're taking out, that comes from our fund balance that is $5.2 million or thereabouts right now. That money came from you taxpayers. That fund was built up over the last 10 or 15 years. That didn't just come out of the clear blue. The highest it was back in 2011 at 5.2. What happened back then was that the council did not want to raise mill rates for 8 years in a row. That went from 5.2 to 4.9 to 4.6 to 3.8 to 3.3 to 3.0 to 2.8, and then it went up to 32 when we sold some property. Then to 30. Now it's gone up in the last 3 or 4 years. That money is all 100% tax dollars. It's called unanticipated revenues that come in, because we're not perfect on estimating projected revenues in any budget, as we're not perfect in estimating the expenses we're going to have next year. So historically, that fund balance has been used for a long time, a lot of years. There were years back in those, I just ran down through you, where they were taking $700,000, $800,000, $900,000, $1 million out of fund balance. That is not a new strategy that towns use to keep the mill rate down. That's what it's for. That's what we're using it for this year. Next year, we might not have to use it. Who knows? That money also has to be used for emergencies. Something comes up and we need $500,000 for something, we got to have it somewhere. That's why that comes from unanticipated revenues. We may get more money from the state that we project in this budget. It happens. Sometimes we get less and we have to redo the budget. Come up with some more money somewhere else. But right now, as this budget stands, on both the municipal side also, we have department heads for each department. They go through the same thing the school board does. They present their budget to us, and we go over it. We make cuts, we add here, we add there, we cut here, we cut there. And come up with a budget that we think is the bare bones budget for this town, especially this year. It has to be this year, because we cannot raise the mill rate this year, and we didn't. So I'm going to propose that the budget, total budget, as presented to the council with the amendment of the 3% interest rate, be approved. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else?
Yeah, if I might really quickly. First of all, thank you for all the people that spoke for the school and against the school also. It takes a lot of courage to get up and to speak. And again, I thank you for that. My concern with this budget right now is the fact that we are taking $950,000 out of surplus. As Council Macklin said, we went down as low as into the 2 million range, 2.8 million range for fund balance. We then had problems with our bond ratings at that particular time. And so taking out of fund balance doesn't guarantee that you're going to replace it all in the next year. And so for 8 years, we went down in fund balance. Now, the ramifications, and we kept the mill rate the same. Now, the ramifications of that also is we cut capital expenses. We cut a lot of expenditures, which forced us to go into the bond market for items like fire trucks, for police cruisers, for public works vehicle. That forced us to go into the bond market for taking out loans on some of this stuff that we have to pay back for 20 years. So, you know, taking money out of surplus is not as easy and as it guarantees that it's going to be replaced a year. And that is my concern with this budget, is the $950,000 that we're taking out of surplus. The economy looks good. We might be able to replace it, but we're still using our fund balance and not having enough money to pave our streets without taking out future bonds. And that is something that concerns me for the future. That's all I got.
I'd like to say something. First of all, thank you. It's not just a blank thank you. Thank you for all that you do, Peter, the teachers, the administration, the board. Truly, it's appreciated. My kids were raised here. They went to your school. I know we have a great school. And what I want to clarify is I'm just going to give you, because what I've heard is we don't support you. That isn't what this is about. Secondly, some of us do know what you're going through. I worked 14 years writing behavior plans with kids with disabilities or kids with developmentally delayed, or had plans. I actually worked implementing them. I worked along with a psychologist to write them. I do know what you're talking about. I think sometimes it should be pointed at, instead of you people, all of you teachers in the school systems, maybe the mainstreaming shouldn't have happened as quick, and that turns back to the state. The state should be helping more. They shouldn't be putting the cost on us and all the work on you. So I do understand that, and I truly hope you believe that. Secondly, I wanted to say this is two separate things, and it's very difficult not to come across as not caring for the needs. That's not the question. We truly believe, or I do, I'm going to speak for myself here, that I understand the needs that you all have, that the children have, but we had to do the town budget, and now we have to figure out the school budget, and yes, it is our job. It's a checks and balance. Somebody has to. You can't give the complete authority to the school. no more than we can give it to Ella to do the town. So that's why we're here. So when we have questions, it isn't because we don't trust you. It's because we have a question. And we have to look out for everybody, not just the students, although yes, they're very important, of course they are, but so aren't the senior citizens. And it's not just the senior citizens, it's every resident in Winslow now. My taxes went up 65%, and that's not just me. They can't rub two nickels together at the end of a week. So it's not about we don't want to help you this year with what you need if that's the way it goes. And using that Band-Aid of, I'll say, $950,000, it's a lot better than, that's almost $1 million. It's almost $1 million that we're taking out of our savings account for this town to put a Band-Aid to keep you flat rate, to not raise your taxes. So it can all look different from different angles, but it all comes down to it's the needs for everybody right now. And although you're all here in support of what you need, we're here for everybody's. We're looking at, in the next year or two, Chafee Brook. That's going to cost us between $8 and $9 million. And then you have phase 1 of Sunset Heights. That's going to cost us another $4 million, probably each year. Those taxes will go up. And if we don't stop, at what point do we say we have to stop? We three were elected to be fiscal responsible, excessive spending, look out for everybody. And it's very, very difficult. So I hope you respect whatever the vote is tonight and try to see our point of view as well as hard as we've tried to see all of yours. Peter, I have the utmost respect for you as well. So thank you.
Just really quickly, and I'm supporting the school budget as it is currently, and I think that in the school systems right now is that we have a lot of catching up to do. So, it's been 3 or 4 years where it has been terrible, and you just don't take those 3 or 4 years of the pain that we've seen and fix it. And I think at this particular time, we have to trust the administration and the plan that they have come up with. And it's not now a time not to support that effort at this particular time. And so I feel, and if we would have had problems in the past with Peter's budget, and he wasn't, he came in and we had questions about it, but that budget has been right on. It's been without fluff, like he said, and it has been just a privilege to hear his budget, to go to some of the school board meetings, and to see the scrutiny that's gone under. So at this particular time, I'm supporting the budget because I feel the kids need that at this particular time, and it's not a time to save a penny, even though I know that other people in the town, elderly people, are hurting. But at this point in time, we need to catch up with our students, and I believe that to be the case here.
I'm sorry, can I just add one more thing? I'm sorry. The other part of it is we're not asking you to cut anything. We're asking you not to add the positions. Even though we fully understand they're needed, we're asking you don't add. And I thank you for your respect right back, because thank you. I'm good.
Anyone else?
Yes, I have something to say. I want to thank you for all the calls and all the emails. I do need a new computer now because I think it blew up this week. Every one of these people here, the councilmen, we are all responsible for our district and other people. My concerns is as far as taxes that's been brought to me. Ella, could you tell us what we have in bonds right now? Approximately.
Yeah. You mean what our bond payments are?
Yes.
Bond payments are around $480,000 a year.
For the next how many years?
Well, that's just for the municipality. That's not, I'd have to break it down. Mike, let me see if I can find it for you.
41.
Okay, so the town has $483,534,000 worth of bond obligations, payments that we're currently making.
That's not including the school's bond obligations. And the bonds, some of them expire in 2027, 2028. We have one of them that's 2051. But the budget as written does take into account these bond payments.
So in the next 20 years, is that what you're saying?
Well, some of them are, but you know, as I stated, that my goal is to start eliminating some of these bonds, and we're starting to look at that right now with a piece of fire apparatus that we're buying. And if I'm allowed to work in that process, I'm hoping that I can eliminate some of these.
Okay. I want to say thank you for the teachers that we have here in Winslow. I too had 3 children that went to Winslow. I want to say thank you, Peter. My wife worked right side by side with you during COVID, packing lunches for the kids to bring home at that time. You didn't have to be there, but you were. I thank you for that. It's part of business. Everybody here is in concern of our children. Yes, we are. I guess I'm speaking for the elderly that didn't show up because of embarrassment. A lot of them spoke to me. And the concern is they say, what do we do if the taxes go up anymore? I says, I'm not sure. He says, well, do we have to choose for food or pay our taxes? Or for medication or pay our taxes? They don't have that increase in funds like a lot of others do. You know, we as councilmen, we have to represent our districts and people other than our districts, everybody here in Winslow, the Winslow residents. We're just the spokesperson for what they want and what they need. We bring it to you. It's not because we want to. There's certain things that they asked us to bring up. We do it. That's our responsibility, to bring it to you and try to clarify and try to find resolutions or solutions to actually help these people as well. I don't deny that we have probably one of the best schools that we have here in the state of Maine. I have no denial of that. But we also have to have concerns of our elderly. That's over 60-somewhat% here in Winslow. I had a widower call me and spoke to me and said, Mike, says, I can't afford to leave Winslow and I can't afford to live in Winslow. She's 70-something years old. She had to take a part-time job in order to make her payments for her taxes. What am I going to do if it keeps going up? I said, well, you probably ought to speak at the meeting. I believe that she's too embarrassed to even bring it up. And I said, well, then you must bring it to the town as far as in June 11th, they need to vote on it. And that's where it's going to be. Whether we say yes or no here, it's going to be up to the people. And you proudly came up and spoke today, but there's a lot of people that don't dare to, and only for embarrassment. I want you to be concerned about those people as well. I've been a long resident from Winslow. I have more to lose in here than anybody else in this town council, because I own a business. When I first accepted the fact that I was going to run, I had friends of mine say, what the heck are you thinking? You're going to either tick somebody off, you will lose business. I said, but you know what? It's not about me. It's about the people. That's all I have to say.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, just one further thing that I forgot. The state of Maine has 2 programs, and they probably have more, and Judy will correct me if I'm wrong. One of them is too late to apply for. For those of you who don't know, the state has extended, and the feds have too, the tax deadline for Kennebec County residents because of the flood until June 17th. There is a state program out there called the Property Tax Fairness Credit that people can apply for. And basically it's meant for the elderly and the not so well off. Now, I've talked to 2 people in the last couple of weeks that I never thought would have qualified for the credit. One of them, on a $2,400 tax bill, got $800 back. Another one, on a $2,800 tax bill, get $1,600 back. State sends you a check, but you have to file a tax return, even if you don't owe any taxes. You have to file that tax return. And I would suggest, if you filed your return already, amend it. Fill out that form and send it in. All they're going to do is say no if you don't qualify. The financial qualifications for that program are fairly liberal. And they will send you a check, even if you don't owe any taxes to the state of Maine. That's why they call it a credit, over and above. They will send you a check directly to you. That program has been extended to June 17th, and I would urge everybody in this town to apply for it, no matter whether you think you're going to qualify or not. It's online. It's all online. And Judy, can I put you on the spot? If they have any questions, maybe they could give you a call. We can provide the resource. Yes. And it's there. Don't be afraid of filing an amended return, and don't be afraid of filing the return itself. But you have to file your state tax return to get it. And I was surprised, like I said, I was surprised that these two people, that they actually got a credit, money back. So think about it, folks.
Well, I'd just like to add that I supported the budget from day one, regardless of any amendments. I will stick with the amended budget, with the school budget as proposed. Anyone else?
I have one more question to Peter. Peter, the 6 positions that you want to add on, did that cost come up to, was it $460,000?
You know, Fran, if I might, you had emailed me on Friday afternoon and asked for clarification on those positions because you'd said there's confusion. I tried to clarify in my haste of typing that out. Yeah, the amount was actually 436, not 462. But I didn't go to the book. So
it's 436?
436. But just to clarify that, Mike, they're not 6 new positions. That's what's confusing about this. The psychologist, we have to still contract that out. So if you don't have that position, you are still in need of those services. They got to be contracted out.
Okay.
Same with the technology piece. So you have several pieces in here where they don't just go away.
Mike, do you mind if I interrupt for 1 second?
Mm-hmm.
So Peter, what's the cost of the psychologist to contract out? Just rough.
To contract out is more than what this price is here, and the reason for that is because this individual, if we had this individual, would be doing a lot of behavioral interventions for us as well.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, that individual is being paid for out of our other lines. We're overdrawing lines because we haven't been able to fill some of our ed tech positions, so those lines didn't get touched this year. So as a result of that, they are being overdrawn right now to pay for this individual. So that's about 80,000.
Okay.
Overdrawn.
Thank you.
I have another question, Peter. Is that the Brett Denovi Associates, the agency that the Winslow
Yes.
Elementary School, is
Yes.
that the one that we are actually using them and paying them? They're a private organization. Where's the funds coming for that?
Funds coming for that are something called Main Care. And what Main Care is when you have ed techs in your classrooms that are ed tech 3s, and you have teachers in your working as through that Main Care process that know how to bill. We can bill for services for students who have special needs, certain students, and so you get reimbursed for the services. And so what happens with that is through this other company, they are billing Main Care for the services that are provided.
And how many do we have that we have in the elementary school?
Earlier in the year, I don't know where is Jennifer?
9. So we wind up billing main care, or they build main care?
They bill main care under us, which actually hurts us, because when you have that situation with main care, that comes back as a revenue for us usually. When we do our own billing, we have that as a revenue so that we can help offset the budget with things that we need. But when we have to hire a company like this to do it because we can't find our own techs, then they get the money, and in addition to them getting our main care money, they subtract seed money for main care, so that comes off us. So we're double losers when they do that. What I'm trying to say, and it's not very clear, we are much better off finding our own ed techs, which is what we try to do all the time, because we pay for them out of the, we pay for them and don't lose money on that.
So have we gone over 9 positions? Have we gone more than that, or have we gone less than that in the past years, or have we increased those?
We have never been in a situation where we started the year where we haven't had our positions filled, our ed tech positions filled. And there are a number of reasons for that. One of them being is our wages aren't competitive with other schools around us, which is what we're negotiating right now, which is part of what's in this budget, to keep those wages competitive so we don't lose our people. That's one of the reasons.
Yeah, I know my wife, when she worked at the school, the elementary school, she says the teachers' hands are pretty much tied, and actually they don't get paid enough for what they do.
She would have been correct.
Thank you, Pete.
You're welcome.
I have to say that this is not about just the budget. It's about the people here, the schools, the children, and the elderly. And I have to make a hard decision as well as everybody here. Just remember, Joe, we're just the messengers. We're just supporting the people and the intel that was given to me. And believe me, I got a lot of it, especially from the school department. And I appreciate that, because I do need feedback. It's the only way we're going to learn and how we can do these things and try to adjust these things. And I thank you all for all being here and for all the input that you've given us. Thank you.
You want to read the thing all over again, Audra?
Yes, I just want to clarify a few things. The school budget election will be held, if the budget passes this evening, it will be held on June 11th. That will combine the state primary election. That date is set, that cannot change, to hopefully get some more voter participation. If the budget does not pass tonight, we will not be able to hold that election on that same day. We do need to allow time to get the budget to pass, along with giving time for absentee ballots to be processed and to be sent out. So in that means we'd have 2 elections this summer, the state primary on June 11th, along with the school referendum election, which would be determined depending on when we can get that done. The budget passed, time enough to get the ballots printed and for people to do absentee voting. That was my.
Peter?
If I'm understanding what you just said correctly, you push a referendum out on the schools beyond June 11th, and you've crippled us.
If it does not pass
Because the hiring season is very difficult. We need to know what we're dealing with for an amount of money so that we can advertise and we can hire what we need, not just for positions that we have tonight, but other positions that are coming up. We have other openings that are people who are retiring, people who are leaving. We have to fill those positions, and we as a school district, it's very difficult to wait. The later you go into the hiring season, the more the positions are filled. We can't find people, folks, just like all of you. We can't find people. It's very difficult. And if we get this thing pushed out later, we can't find people. And Mike, you run a very You run a very good business. I drive by it every day, 25 years, voted the best. I suspect you're having a tough time finding people at times as well. And so take an organization that has as many people as we need to make it work. And this is why you're looking at having 9 people, because we couldn't find them. We don't want to do that.
Andrew, could you read the order, please?
Yes.
Is this the time we make motions prior to that?
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we at least eliminate $100,000 out of the municipal budget, and I'd like to see the same out of the school budget, at least $50,000 out of the school budget.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion?
Yeah, what were those numbers again?
To eliminate 100,000 out of the municipal budget and 50,000 out of the school budget.
Just as a point of order, Mr. Chairman, I don't believe we can separate it that way. We've got the whole thing, it's one budget right now. If we're gonna cut, we cut 150 from the total budget. That's it. It's not proportioned that way. And then it's up to, if that goes through, it's up to the town manager and the superintendent to figure it out on what's gonna be
Bill,
cut.
your opinion on the matter?
I think you can cut a certain amount out of the school budget. The school then determines where those cuts take place. On the municipal side, I think if you're going to cut an amount out, you have to say where you're cutting it from. Otherwise, you're abdicating your responsibility over the school, over the municipal budget, which you totally control. I mean, if you say 100,000 out of the municipal budget, where's that going to come from? Public Works, police, fire? In other words, I think you have to specify that. Regarding the school portion, the council has no authority to tell the school department where those cuts would take place. So I think there needs to be, for the motion that was presented, greater specificity on the municipal side.
I would go with the skid steer and their attachment, or possibly the police car that we may or may not have put enough miles on to need to renew this year.
What's your motion?
By department, Bill? That's gonna go by department, doesn't it?
I think you have to determine, you are in control of the budget.
We can't line item the municipal budget either.
Use the mic.
Yeah. We can't line items the municipal budget either.
Well, you
the
determine how much money is going to be spent for the fire department, for the police department.
Yes.
Right.
But if they want to move to cut 100, does that have to be designated for which department it's coming from?
Well, otherwise, you're not making the decision. And maybe Ella wishes to, as a town manager, would like to weigh in on this.
Right, I'm listening to you guys batter over the budget. I certainly would like to make that choice myself over where that money comes from, instead of being told that we're going to pull it out of Public Works or wherever. I think that this would warrant a conversation with my department heads and find out who feels we can go and change that. I just want to remind everybody, when we went through this budget building process, that we eliminated a large percentage of our third-party costs, or expenses. This is something the town of Winslow has never really gone down for a path before. So I struggle with eliminating any part of our budget because I think we've got a good, solid budget. But I think it's very important to make sure that we walk away here tonight with some type of resolution on which direction we go. I think that this is going to put our school department in jeopardy if we can't come to that. And if that means that I have to give up something to make that happen, I'm in full support of that school. I would like to have that choice where we pull this money from on a municipal side.
In retrospect, Adam, I appreciate this, I do have a concern with the 950. I believe at this time that the 50,000 reduction in the school system just complicates things a little too much. It's more, now that I've, listened, I think it's not something that we should do at this particular time, but I'm open to the municipal. If you want to make it up on the municipal side, then I would listen to that. If people here feel that a reduction in that they would support the budget, if we reduced 100,000 out of the municipal side, would that be enough for people to support the budget, or is still the school the driving force for the negative vote on the budget? I guess I would like to hear from other councilors on that.
I don't honestly mind where the cuts come from, as long as the cuts are made so that the elderly can stay in the community and people that are trying to start families and single incomes and stuff like that have a chance to flourish in the town. So I'm okay with cutting from wherever we need to cut, as long as we cut enough to be able to make good faith towards our constituents and our elderly and our people that are struggling in the town, to try to make things better for them, to
Would you
reduce the
amend
fund
your
balance.
thing then to take 0 out of school and 125 out of municipal, or 100 out of municipal? Would you consider taking the 100 out of municipal and leaving the school the same and support that budget?
I'd do 150 from the municipal. I don't want to move on the number, because I think that number is way lower than anything that I ever thought was going to come out of my mouth tonight.
So what do the other councilors feel about that at this?
I have a question for you, Ella, through the chair. We have 950,000 we're putting in right now. Next year, we won't have that 950,000 to put in, correct?
Not necessarily, no. Because our budget is way under what our numbers were supposed to be. For one thing, we didn't use nearly the sand or salt in the Public Works Department. We've saved a lot on overtime because of the lack of snowstorms. So we're going to be able to put an awful lot of that money back, if not all of it.
Okay, so in other words, we won't have that 950,000 to put in next year like we're doing for this year.
So the way I like to operate is if we pull out the 950 this year and we're able, at the end of the year, through unanticipated revenues and savings on our expenses, that we're able to put it back in, that it starts to become a cycle that I like to be able to use. And next year, we may not be able to, or may not want to put so much money into it. The goal is to start growing this community. We're dealing with domestic migration right now that's moving into the region. Winslow's kind of missing the boat on that a little bit, and we need to start drawing some of those people into this region.
Okay, for that 950, I'll be the devil's advocate on it. If we didn't have that 950,000 to put in next year, and we had to, and then we have $436,000 that's going to be there for every year approving these positions, what's the mill rate going to run up to?
Well, I mean, everything we do is a crystal ball, right? We're trying to predict next year's revenues. We're trying to predict next year's expenses based upon historical data and experience. And I don't anticipate that's going to be an issue. We could play what ifs all day long. I mean, every town goes down this path.
Yes, but what would the mill rate? Like I said,
it's hard to say. It depends on
$1.4 million. If it's an increase of $1.4 million.
So you've got for every tenth of a mill, you have $100,000. So $1.4 million would be 1.4 mils.
1.4 mils. Okay.
The manager gets to decide where the budget.
If I might, I would support the 150,000 out of the municipal budget right now, and 0 out of the school budget.
We can make suggestions.
So I would support that.
Thank you.
I understand it, right?
You two talking when I was going to ask, let me start with this. With regards to the fund balance, $950,000, we have not taken any money out of that fund balance in the last 3 years. That fund balance, like I said, has been built up. Every year I've been on the council, the last 4 years, I wasn't on the council 4 years ago, but I knew what was going on. The minimum that we have had for what we call unanticipated revenues has been $750,000. That $750,000 by state mandate, because it's unanticipated revenues, goes into the fund balance. Then we take it out of the fund balance to do whatever we want. This year, we took $950,000 out. So if the last 3 years, if we average just what the last 3 years was at $750,000, we're going to repay most of that. Our fund balance right now is $5.2 million. Back when the auditors were here, there's a fancy formula they use, but to determine what the percentage of that is to your net operating costs. We were at 25%. That's very good, they said. And the average might be down to 20%. We take this $950,000 out, we are still above the average of $4 million, and we'll go down to $4.2 million. We are still within the 20%.
Can I interrupt for 1 second? It's part of your discussion, actually.
Yeah, go ahead, you're the chairman.
So, well, no, I'm going to be respectful about it. Now, Ella, I guess for me, again, I say leave it the way it is and we vote it through. But as long as we stay at that 20% or above, our bond ratings are right where we need them.
It actually doesn't have to be 20%.
No, I understand that.
Right.
But we need to have some money there that we can spend in
Right.
case of an emergency.
Right.
And still not go below our bond rating.
Right. Your average town has a fund balance of about 12.5% to 15%, depending on where you go.
Correct.
And we are way above average at 25%.
Correct.
And it's taking taxpayer money and just saving it for them.
But we also don't want to have another Cedar Brook.
If we take the 150, take it out of the 950, go to 800, if by the end of the year, with the anticipated revenues that you say we're going to replace it, I'll be the first one to approve that skid steer when I have the money for it. That's one thing I would be more than happy. When I have the money for it and we get the anticipated revenues, the first budget item that I'll approve is for the skid steer. But I don't like to buy something with anticipated revenue that we're taking out of fund balance at this particular time. And with engineering costs going up, it's nice to have that fund balance to use for unanticipated expenses that we can use. That's just my feeling, and but I'm not telling you how to cut. The 150, you have to decide where to cut that money. That's your responsibility, and you know it, we've talked about that, and you accept that responsibility, obviously.
So I just want to compare that skid steer, it's a bad comparison, to hiring out a psychologist to work for the school. We have to rent this piece of equipment every year. So when, by not owning it, we're renting it, anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000 a year. So just know that that is going to change the equation a little bit in itself.
Mr. Chairman,
I'll recant that as it is, and we'll just vote on it, and we'll see what happens at that point, and we'll either not agree or we'll agree, I guess.
Very true. Oh, Mr. Chairman, one other point.
Hold on, we have something on the floor right now.
Well, we do.
He wants to recant. The second would need to recant as well.
Yeah. I think we should take 150 out of municipal, leave the school budget the way it is, and that's what the motion on the floor is at this particular time.
He recanted his motion.
And I
Can we do
recant
that,
mine.
Bill?
Okay.
Can you withdraw your,
No.
can you withdraw a motion?
No, I'm looking over here. I'm looking at the charter, and maybe I'm misinterpreting this.
I was trying to get it up on my iPhone right now.
The budget authority of the council shall be limited to the total appropriation to be made to each of the several offices, departments, and agencies of the town, including the Department of Education.
I see that.
So if we, and I'm not disagreeing, I just want to get it straight, that's all, that if we cut, my understanding is, we have a $30 million budget in front of us right now. And if the motion is to cut $150,000, that comes off the 30 million. However, the town manager and the school board get together on making those allocations.
This is something different.
Does appear to be the way it is. So
I thought
you
so.
cut a fixed amount.
Thank you, Bill.
Sure.
Any further discussion before we move on?
Yes, I have a question through the chair. If we wind up agreeing or disagreeing on this budget and it goes to voting in June and the people disagree with the budget, where does it go from there?
I can answer that question. So if it passes this evening, it goes to vote on June 11th, and it is rejected, then it goes back to the school department to have to come up with some new numbers. It gets approved through you, and then we will hold another election.
And that in turn affects the municipal side of it too. If the school budget makes changes, we've got to, that's all still part of the $30 million budget.
Correct.
And just one other point, Mr. Chairman. Ray, and I want to make sure I heard you right, Ray.
Speaking in the microphone.
If we cut 150 from the budget, and you're saying then you want to reduce the 950 down to 800 and have that 800 there. If you do that, Ray, if you cut 150 from the budget, that 30 million, and you take 150 out of fund balance and reduce that to $800, you're not changing the mill rate one single bit.
That's correct.
So where is the advantage to the taxpayer by cutting out $150,000, where if we cut $150,000, that is a big detriment to wherever it comes from? Yet the taxpayer is not getting the benefit out of it this year.
I'm looking at next year. I'm looking at next year and the year after. I'm looking at, I don't believe, or at least when we used fund balance, we reduced from 5.3 to 2 point something. And that caused us a bond rating. Taking out of fund balance, the amount we're taking out of fund balance worries me that the anticipated revenues are not going to be able to replace that. And that's all I'm saying, is that 950, the benefit would be next year. If we don't replace it, then we have to make it up just initially in the budget for next year before we even start. And that's my concern.
Well, I understand your concern, Ray, and that, but historically, the money has been there since I've been on the council anyway, to the tune of a minimum of $750,000 in unanticipated surpluses for at the end of this fiscal year. That's what it's going to be, at least that. And there we got the 800. We're back up to the 5.2. If not, we'll stay at the 4.2. Like I think Fran and others made the argument when the auditors were here, well, why don't we keep it at 4.2? Why do we need all that money in there? Well, these are reasons why we need it, and it's always been there. Where it came in before, Ray, why the fund balance kept going down and down and down and never went up, is because the councils back then didn't use the following year's surplus to put back in the fund balance. They spent it to keep the mill rate at the same mill rate for 8 years in a row. That's the mistake that was made back then. This year, and we've done it in the past, since I've been here anyway, we add that surplus back into the fund balance. We don't spend it. That fund balance originates from tax increases that we have had the last 3 years outside of because of the reval. And those we would put in the budget, a half to 3/4. Maybe I think 1 year we went a mill to get that fund balance back up. And that's the way it worked. So now we get up to that 5.2. If we stop financing this budget the way we have the last 3 or 4 years, sooner or later, you're right, that tax rate is going to go up. You take that out this year, the 150 this year, with the mill rate staying the same, by taking it down to that 800, then those items that are cut this year, because I'm convinced anyway, everything in this budget, every line item in this budget and in the school budget is necessary. They're going to need that, they're going to need it this next year. Peter cut something, we cut something, you're still going to need it next year. So what are you going to do?
I want to
You leave
make
it in?
mention that we were told several times tonight that there is no crystal ball. So for someone to sit here and say, oh yeah, we'll make it back next year, we don't have a crystal ball either. So we need to be very frugal at a time where we haven't been for many years. Honestly, people need,
Make a
they
motion to end
need this
discussion.
tax break.
But taking that 150 out and taking the 150 out of the 950 to bring it down to 800 does not change the mill rate one bit.
I don't
Still gonna
believe
be
the 150 is worth taking out, so I'm not going to argue with
It's
you.
still going to be 15 mil.
Yep.
It's not reducing
Ray,
the
did you
mill
have a
rate.
motion?
Yeah, I make a motion to end discussion, just, I don't think it's, I think we've discussed it.
I
but-
second.
Second.
Takes a two-thirds of
Takes a two-thirds vote to basically call the question.
So can I, Adam, could you repeat the motion as you see it right now? You were the one who made the motion, if you could repeat.
The motion's been rescinded.
Rescinded, okay?
The motion now is to end discussion.
Okay.
So Adam rescinded his motion, and Ray,
You did? Okay, okay.
do you rescind your second?
Motion?
No, that's already been rescinded.
This is what I thought we rescinded, was the fact that Adam made a proposal for $100,000 out of municipal and $50,000 out of school. I said I wouldn't support the $50,000 out of school, but I would support $150,000 out of the municipal budget. That's what I rescinded for that. Now we're talking about,
No, he rescinded his original motion.
so right now,
So do you rescind your second?
yes, I do.
Thank you.
And actually, the motion on the floor is to end the discussion, but even though we've been having discussion since that motion was seconded.
I had a motion to
So,
end
Do
discussion.
you wish to
Now-
rescind the motion to end the discussion?
I would want this ended as soon as possible.
Okay, so we have, now
roll
we have
call.
a motion to end the discussion.
Correct.
Ray and Fran seconded that.
Yes.
Yes.
Ray Karen,
Yes.
Adam Lent,
Yes.
Lee's not here, Jeff West,
Yes.
Mike Joseph,
Yes.
Dale Macklin,
Yes.
and Fred Hudson.
Yes.
The motion to end discussion passes 6-0.
Oh.
Okay.
Where are
Now, we have a motion to approve the Town of Winslow's 2024-2025 fiscal budget series and the amount of
Well, we
30.
haven't voted on the amendment yet, have we?
What amendment?
No.
There wasn't an amendment.
It was withdrawn.
It was withdrawn.
Okay.
That's what that whole mess just was.
I want to get home
I'm
to.
confused enough. Don't confuse me more.
Yeah.
Okay, to approve the budget in the amount of $33,573,893.67, and to establish a tax due date and interest rate on taxes remaining unpaid as amended.
So moved.
It's already been moved.
Okay.
Is there now going to be a motion to reduce that figure?
No, there's no motion. He rescinded his motion.
So
There's nothing-
the
there's
as
nothing
amended
on
was
Bill
from
to
the
go back
last.
to The original.
Okay.
We're taking the
with
second reading.
Just making sure
Okay.
people understand.
Do it.
With no further.
Roll call, please.
Okay. Ray Karen,
Yes.
Adam Lent,
No.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Mike Joseph,
No.
Dale Macklin,
Yes.
and Fran Hudson.
No.
So it's a 3-3 vote.
And that defeats the budget. Yes,
Yep.
it defeats Does any,
Point of order.
does anybody have any questions about what we do next?
What do we do next, Bill?
It's a tie vote, and that means it fails. That means, according to our charter, that the budget as presented to the council by Ella originally takes force and effect on June 1st, unless otherwise changed before then. That's our charter, Bill.
Correct. And it, to be changed would require either a motion by the prevailing side to reconsider the second vote, or it would involve calling special council meetings to have 2 meetings to be able to pass a budget before June 1st.
You got it.
How do we call those meetings? If we want them, how do we call them?
There's a procedure, you have to have several days' notice for calling a special.
Do we go through, does it take a number of us to approve that meeting to
It's several, we can look it up, but there's a procedure with several days'
With all the
notice.
talking.
Sure.
In the past, if a counselor has wanted to call a special session, they will probably call no more than 2 other counselors and say that, I have 3 counselors who want a special session, go to Ella, then Ella will check with the other 3, or 4, whatever there is, to set a time and a date. So I don't think there's any set thing, Bill, on the procedure, but that's what we've used in the past.
I can double check that. If there's an interest in having a special council meeting, you could send something to Ella, she and I can talk, and a special council meeting can be called, and we'll follow the proper procedure.
Thank you.
I will say we have more to this meeting than this, so please don't go anywhere. So we're moving on to,
Hey, can we do something about this?
Just took care of itself.
so we're going to move on to the public comment section of the meeting now.
I don't think we have that on the special session, do we?
I have 2 emails.
Yeah.
I have taken it off, and it's been in other meetings, and it's been requested to be added back on to all meetings.
Can we just take just 5 minutes?
Well, it's just 2 emails.
I have,
Okay, go ahead.
I have 2 emails, and I don't know if there's anyone else that wants to speak on a non-agenda item. Is there anyone that wants to speak on a non-budget item? No? Okay. So I just do have 2 emails that were sent to me. One from William Gallagher at 7 Danielson Street. My wife Judy and I have lived at 7 Danielson Street for almost 40 years. My complaint regards the property at 4 Danielson Street owned by Daniel Yacht. I have worked with a series of town managers and code enforcement officers, and this building is inhabitable and worse than ever. I respectfully ask that each counselor take a ride down the street at the conclusion of this meeting and see what I see every time I sit on my porch. Thank you.
He started making improvements last winter for about 2 weeks. That was it, stop.
Correct. My second email that I received was from Greg Roby. In an ongoing effort to both transparent and utilize my denied #proposed speech, please be advised that the notice of August 21st, 2023, and a filing of grievance with our Board of Overseers of the bar is no longer delayed. FWIW, this brings me mostly deep grief. Alternately, and as I have noted this before, I am deeply indebted to the education that the town officer of town attorney has afforded me. That is all I have.
We have a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
To adjourn.
Second.
I'm sorry, who's second? Dale second?
Mike second, I'm just raising my hand to agree.
Okay.
Thank you all.